1500 BC, and it has its origins in the Vedas, and the Vedas are originally not written. They are revelations, you can call them some kinds of vibrations of nature that were felt by seers, and so they are also supposed to be timeless.
¿Cuál es la relación entre el Rig Veda y el Ayurveda? ¿O la relación?
Well, there are supposed to be 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yajur Veda, and Athar Veda. And Ayurveda is related to Athar Veda, not so much to the Rig Veda. There would be some references, but the major references are in Athar Veda.
¿Y cuáles serían las referencias primeras que hay, los primeros textos? ¿Qué dicen?
I think they deal with the subject at various levels. On one hand, the very meaning of the word Ayurveda, as I have spoken of it earlier, is the knowledge of life. And there is a continuum, an existential continuum at which life is looked. The subtlest manifestation of life is the Atman or the soul, and the grossest manifestation of life is the earthy material, the solid state, which is symbolized by the earth. So from the earth to the soul, there is a continuum. And so we look at it in this fashion. Solid gets converted into liquid. Liquid gets converted into fire. Fire gets converted into the wind or a gaseous state. And then that gets converted into space. And then you have the mind, and then you have time, and then you have direction, and then you have the soul. So this is the 9-step.
¿Y cómo se relaciona el hombre, el ser humano, el microcosmos del ser humano, con ese macrocosmos que usted está describiendo? ¿Cómo se establece la relación entre los elementos del macrocosmos y los elementos del microcosmos humano?
Well, the sequence is supposed to be that you have matter. Matter gets converted into life, and a still higher stage of evolution is the mind. So matter, life, mind, and it's the mind which connects you then to the soul. That's the sequence.
Y nosotros somos el reflejo también de lo que ocurre en la naturaleza, es decir, es el hombre de alguna manera el reflejo de lo que ocurre en el viento, en el aire, en el fuego, en la relación con las estaciones.
Yes, of course, because the physical part of man is in fact made of the earth and the water and the fire and the wind and the space. These are the 5 states of nature that are present within us. We are composed of earth and water and fire and the wind and the space. Yes.
He leído que existen 3 elementos, tridosha, no sé cómo se puede traducir, en el ser humano, en nuestro cuerpo, que son el vata, el pita y el kapha. Quizás podría usted explicar en qué consisten esos 3 elementos de lo que está hecho nuestra materialidad.
Well, these are the terms that explain what is the role that the earth the water, the fire, the wind and the space play. The earth and the water are called kapha. These are the elements that are responsible for building up the body tissues, for all what in medical parlance you call the anabolic functions. The fire is responsible for the metabolic functions, and we refer to it as pitta. And the wind and the space, they are responsible for the neurological functions, for the motor functions. So all the movements in the body are caused by the wind and by space, and that is called vata. So the 5 elements are reduced to 3. Earth and water is kapha, fire is pitta, and wind and the space, that's vata.
Y tengo entendido que ustedes distinguen en la medicina de Ayurveda, distinguen 3 tipos corporales en relación a estos elementos. ¿Cuáles son esos 3 tipos y cómo puede uno distinguirlos? ¿Cómo los distingue el médico cuando ve a un paciente, por ejemplo?
Well, there are external signs and symptoms about the proportion of these 5 states, or when you reduce them to 3, you can even talk in terms of the 3. So what is the proportion of earth and water and fire and wind and space in a body? How can you see that? And you can see that from the size of the body. So when you see a body which is tall and lean, then you know that the proportion of wind and space is higher in comparison with the proportion of earth and water. On the other hand, when you see a very heavy body, then you know that it's earth and water which is predominant. When you see a very restless person, like a butterfly, then wind is very predominant. So vata is very predominant. When you see a person who is very short-tempered, but also very sharp and very intelligent, then that fire element or pitta is dominant. The person who's slow and calm, then that's earth and water. He's slow to react. He doesn't get angry very easily. Then that is the earth and the water that is dominant. So you can see this through physical characteristics, you can see it through mental characteristics. And when we look at the physical and mental characteristics of a person, we can tell what is the predominance of kapha or vata or pitta. Now there is a certain natural proportion that is inherent in every person from the time of birth till he dies. And that is your natural balance. When that gets disturbed, then you get into ill health.
Si jugáramos un poco, ¿qué sería yo, según esa clasificación? ¿A qué tipo pertenecería? Una mirada rápida, obvio.
As I look at you, it seems to me that fire is dominant.
Yeah.
And then you have the wind and space, and then you have earth and water. But fire is the one that is dominant.
¿Qué significa que el fuego predomine? ¿Qué implica eso en la manera de ser de uno, de vivir o también de enfermarse? Por ejemplo,
Falling ill, for example, someone whose fire is dominant is likely to suffer from maybe hypertension, hyperacidity, liver disorders. Those are the kinds of typical disorders